It's easy to see because it had all those, it had numerology, all those numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it made everything seem so simple. What did it make seem simple? How to get there. Let's close that door if you don't mind. I think she's coming. Who's coming? She can close it again. Yeah, when she comes you can tell her. Yeah, you don't have to close. When she comes you can tell her. Darwaja. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Verse 43. Deho nahamaham dehi.
Deho nahamaham dehi.
Deha sakshiti nishchayat.
Deha sakshiti nishchayat.
Janma mrityu prahinosau.
Janma mrityu prahinosau.
Iti Vedanta Dindimaha. Deho nahamaham dehi.
Deho nahamaham dehi.
Deha sakshiti nishchayat.
Deha sakshiti nishchayat.
Janma mrityu prahinosau.
Janma mrityu prahinosau. Iti Vedanta Dindimaha.
Yeah. So last time we saw something interesting. We saw how a formula, a numeric formula of how to get there. What is there? Nowhere. Yeah, yourself, really. How to get there without going anywhere. That is how to get there, because you are already there. So it is a cognitive pursuit. So what is coming in the way, the block, is not, like there is some, in the Olympics they have this hurdle race. Every so often there is a little thing. And sometimes they have that escalating up and down. So you have to think and jump and run for a few more meters and then jump. It is called the hurdle race. So this race to moksha is really like the hurdle race, except that the seeker is the destination. Correct? Yeah. There is no destination outside of the seeker. How can there be? The seeker is the whole. The seeker is the sought. So the destination it's very interesting paradox. The destination is not outside the seeker. And yet it's a hurdle race. Meaning, where are the hurdles? Inside the seeker. Yeah. So the hurdles that stop one from reaching oneself are what? Within, not without. It's not that somebody is, holding my hand and holding me back from racing towards moksha. Even though it may seem like it, And it's very easy to blame the significant other in this regard. If it were not for him or her, I would be well on my way to moksha. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Or if it was, and sometimes, one can sort of look at the child. The child is also seen as a hurdle. Like, oh, why is it crying now? And the only time when I want to study, the child cries. And only time when I want something to do, when I want to meditate, it comes and disturbs. Really speaking, this is a great saint, from South India. She was extremely she passed away, I think, at the beginning of this century, sometime last century, and she had a great following and very simple person. And one day a lady came and said, I'm so ready for this knowledge. and for this meditation that you are teaching. The only problem is this 2-year-old, this 3-year-old, whatever, she had a small child. And whenever I sit to meditate, he goes like this, Mom! And pulls, tugs at the cloth. And how do I meditate with a 3-year-old? This is what her question was, And then she also confessed that the 3-year-old had gotten on her nerves so much that she was starting to resent the 3-year-old, And the saint said, very, very, simply, make him the object of the meditation, So really speaking, don't see him as a distraction, see him as the meditation, And everything else is a distraction, this is the meditation. And so that was a very beautiful advice. And so too, to conquer this internal hurdle race, we were given a set of numeric, numbered possibilities. And why were they in numbers? Because we like categories. They make us feel safe. Yeah. Shandi Hatya, 6 things we have to remove, and 5 things we have to conquer, 4 things we have to let go of, and only 3 things we have to overcome. And then what is left? Just this duality, nothing more. And then one is one with oneself. See, so easy. Easy, breezy, nothing to worry about, it's so easy. Yeah. And sometimes you need a little boost, you need a little, otherwise all the time it's just sort of, Vedanta is called Vedanta because it weighs you down. You're like, okay, do I have Shama? How do you spell Shama? Which Sh? Is it this kind of Sh or is it that kind of Sh? As the beginning Sanskrit student. How to write this Sh for Shama, and if I transliterate it is the S with a little accent or with a dot underneath, and what to do, And have I acquired Shama? How to test whether I have acquired Shama? Don't worry about testing. The world will test. Don't worry. You don't have to put more tests for yourself. Just go out and stand on the street corner. You will be tested. Yeah, you don't even have to talk. Yeah. So like this, one gets weighed down. So much so that it should be called what? Vedanta. Yeah. Because it weighs one down. So that's why it's nice to have a little break with a few light verses which sort of, they're not lying. They're not lying. They're telling the truth. Get rid of these 6, conquer these 5, smooth out these 4, and overcome these 3, and all there is this duality, and the duality is mithya anyway, and all that is left is this one which is you. That is what they are saying, it is the truth. And so it's kind of nice, especially coming in the middle of the text. We are right at the halfway point. And so coming in the middle of the text, it's kind of nice to just revel in a little revision and making it numeric and accessible, right? And so now, for those people who had the question how to remove the 6, overpower the 5, conquer the 3, dismiss the 2, and, and be myself, then now we are entering into a set of very beautiful verses. And very beautiful because, in a sense, they are familiar. They are not repetitive, but they are familiar because they talk about oneself, starting with one's own body. How to get rid of the 6. 6 what? 6 sorrow, delusion, age, death, etc. And also the other 6 in the second verse were the 6 kama, krodha, this desire, anger, and the 6 negative emotional states. How to overcome that, how to transcend all that. So all this, it is familiar. And then what is the beauty of it, and the beauty of the Hindu tradition in general, really, it's so sophisticated, is a connection between the individual and the total. In fact, there is no such thing as the individual and the total separation. That is why this connection can be drawn out at the relative level, because at the absolute level, there is no separation whatsoever. So relatively, we can weave a beautiful skein of connection between the microcosm and the macrocosm, between the micro and the macro. And it's a very beautiful chain of understanding. And and even in the Bible it says something as above, so below, something like that. That's exactly the sentiment that is expressed. The same thing is expressed in the Chandogya Upanishad. Yad yatha iha karma chito loka kshiyate tat tatha amutra punya chito loka api kshiyate. Yad yatha, just as here, all the good experiences gathered by what? Good actions, correct? Because good karma comes from good actions, good karma phala. Result of action comes from what? Having engaged in good actions. And now the results of action, this is baby Vedanta quiz, are they finite or infinite? Finite, definitely. They are fine, but they are finite. They cannot be infinite. And so, to those people who have the lokeshana, remember overcoming the three? What are the three desires? The three basic desire for progeny, desire for wealth, desire for lokas, various fields of experiences. And so for those that are heaven bound and thinking that this place is a mess and let me just get to that place and it's going to be free of time, free of space, free of everything. How can a place located somewhere be free of space? Tell me that. It's not possible. And if it is not free of space, it is certainly not free of time, because anything that is outside of you cannot be called eternal. Yeah, it cannot. Because if it excludes you, then it is not eternal. Limitless means it should include everything. Correct? And so therefore what? So therefore, for those who have some kind of an illogical or underthought desire, and what is that underthought desire? The underthought desire that this place is man-made, and they will use the word man-made, and then the other place is God-made. So anything that is quote-unquote man-made is fallible, and anything that is Ishvara-made or God-crafted is what? Infallible. And so where do I want to be? There, not here. In fact, the words here and there are what? Show spatial limitation. Correct? And so for those people who may have the lokeshana, the desire to go to heaven, etc. So this Chandogya Vakya says, the sentence from the Chandogya Upanishad says, just like here, you collect karma, you collect the results of actions and then you spend them, correct? How do you spend them? By sleeping in on Sundays, not today, but other times. So how do you spend the karma? By having some nice time. Even being able to sit and stare at the ceiling, having that vital time for contemplation is very good punya, very good punya to eat good food, good punya to have, enjoy very good prasad, good punya to have all kinds of wonderful experiences are all collected from your own good karma that is being given, dished out back to you. So if that is the case here, iha means here. Amutra means there. There means if there are any visible or invisible lokas or fields of experiences or quote-unquote heaven-like places, there also the same rule applies. You see the connection? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There also the same rule applies. What takes you to heaven? The jet pack that powers you to heaven is the punya jet pack. Zoom, vroom, you go there. And then what? Punya gets exhausted, dhadam, you come back. Correct? This is what the whole thing is. So the same rule applies here as it applies there. This is and the Chandogya sentence again can be used as a metaphor for all other rules and all other laws that unfold in this universe. So the law that operates at the level of the body also operates outside the body at the level of the five elements. And so, see, all this is here, what is there? Air. The air element, we don't have to see it, we sense it, correct? And then take a deep breath, And the air outside, what has it become now? Prana. Why? That Vayu, the air, has a new name. Outside it's called air. Inside, taken inside, it is called prana. And exhale, and now it goes back again as Vayu. So the law of Vayu so the Vayu is not really outside, correct? You cannot say the air element is outside of me, no? Because it is a lung, it is very much situated in the lungs. You are constantly exchanging the air, right? And every living being, including plants, are participating in this air exchange, in this airy exchange. And so you cannot say that the air is outside of me. No, it is not outside. And it is not inside either, because it is outside and it is inside. And the law that connects the outside and the inside, because you see there is a law. Because the air enters the lungs, correct? You take a deep breath, the air enters the lung. Supposing the air, now renamed as prana, decides, what has this fellow achieved? Why should I come out? I'm not going to come out. Nothing he has done, He's wasted his whole life. He's a burden on Mother Earth. I'm not going to come. Yeah, the air element partners with the Mother Earth element, and the Mother Earth says, don't bother with him. Yeah, don't work so hard. And so the law that makes the air that has gone in come out is again, on the level of the macro. It is that law of Bhagavan. It's a law of Bhagavan means what? It's a law that is non-separate from Bhagavan. And at that level also, it is Bhagavan. Air also is Bhagavan. Prana is Bhagavan. And the person breathing is also Bhagavan. That is why this macro-micro connection is possible, very sophisticated and beautiful. So in overcoming the 6, in conquering the 5, in letting go of the 4, in transcending the 3, in dismissing the 2, then we are going to encounter a set of verses that start from up close and personal with the body. So how to accomplish this is given in very, very simple ways and at the same time profound. So we'll look at this verse number 43 in a little more detail. Dehaha aham. Dehaha na aham. Sorry. So dehaha na aham. I am not the body. This is easy to say. I am not the body. Till when? Till one stubs the toe on the way out of class. And then what? Oh, my toe. My body. And then slowly, my body is also alright. And then what does it happen? Me body. I am as good as this body. So my body is okay. My body leads to me body. And me body is not a good news. Yeah. So therefore, we practice, these are all a series of visualizations, meditations, guided meditations that one has to do, every day. And doing this every day, the next few sets of verses, will bring back the sanity in your life, assuming it is not there right now. So, so this is the whole thing, because this is something we know, but unfortunately, the thing we know is what we take for granted, correct? The thing we know most intimately is the one that we take for granted. So therefore, this is a practice to buttress the knowledge that is already there. So these are verses for contemplation or nididhyasana. Somebody had asked earlier how to do contemplation. This is how to do contemplation. When? Upon waking up. Upon waking up, what is the first thought? What day is it today? And what is the next thought? What do I have to do? Oh my God. And then one jumps out of bed. Very unhealthy. Yes. Very unhealthy. And so here, to bring back a level of sanity and to identify and to keep the identification with the Atma, with the self, rather than with the body, mind, sense complex, the series of visualizations or guided visualizations are advised. So the first one starts with, I am not just this body. You have to add a just there. Because if you start saying, I am not this body, what will happen? Dissociation will set in. Yeah. Already one is dissociated from oneself. Right? So, I am not this body, if you keep repeating, then there is it increases the alienation. So, therefore, you have to add a word just. I am not just this body. Then, of course, it begs the next question. What am I if I am not just this body? Aham dehi. So, there is a distinction between deha and dehi. Dehi means the indweller of this body. Deha asya asti iti dehi. And the Sanskrit etymology says the one who is endowed with a body, the one who has a body, in other words, the embodied one. So it is nice to think of oneself as the embodied one rather than the body itself. Thinking of oneself as the body is ajnanam. What is ajnanam? And thinking of oneself as the embodied one is knowledge. Yeah. That's a small distinction, but a very important distinction. Because what is the difference? When I say I am the body, there is the I, the identificatory noun, the I, the preposition, no, the pronoun. The identificatory pronoun I has been placed where? In something that is so fallible and finite. Yeah. In something that wakes up every day with a new ailment. Yeah. And if you associate the I with the body, because the I is not associated with the body, we know this. Why? Because I am able to witness and catalogue these ailments. So if you ask me, how are you? I'll say, how much time you got? Because I am the observer of that. That is how I can say that. So how are you doing? Well, let's see how much time you have. You want the quick version, or you want the cup of tea version, or you want a lunch version, I have 3 versions. And how is one able to do this? One is able to catalogue the list of ailments because one is not those ailments. One is the observer of the ailments. So I am the observer of a sense of ill-being in the body. And by contrast, I am also the observer of a sense of well-being in the body. On those accidental days when I wake up and say, oh, I feel great. And then immediately what? I am great. And then to celebrate, I go like this. I am great. How? Something caught while saying that. So, therefore what? So therefore this itself gives a certain inner space, because it's not a visual. See, usually there are two kinds of visualizations. One visualization has to do with something that is not there and I am thinking about. And there are certain meditations that do that. Like there is one blue point Upanishad, Neela Bindu Upanishad, which is a meditative Upanishad. And what does it say? It says, visualize blue light and meditate upon the Atma in the form of the blue light. Nothing wrong. Only thing is, sometimes people think that itself, blue light only is Atma. That means what? If I see yellow light, I have to turn back. That is not Atma. No, that is not the idea here. It is not understood properly. So this is called, this is called a certain kind of a upasana, which is called idam graha upasana. Idam means the object of the upasana. Upasana means meditation. The object of the meditation is what? idam. Idam means this. A thing that is defined by this cognition. Like suppose if I say, visualize this flower. Correct? Yeah. Visualize a flower. So the flower is not I cognition, correct? The flower is what? This cognition. And then on top of this flower, or let's say visualize a lotus, and on top of the lotus visualize goddess Lakshmi sitting on it, because that is her seat. In the middle of the lotus, imagine, visualize goddess Lakshmi sitting on it. Lakshmi of course is non-separate from oneself, but here this is still a meditation of this cognition, correct? Now here when I say, I am not just this body, I am the embodied one, I am the one who is endowed with the body. Is it a this cognition meditation or is it an I cognition meditation? It's an I cognition meditation. Aham graha upasana, because it is leading to the truth of the I. So these visualizations are different from imagining a hill and imagining some devata or some effulgent being standing on the hill. That is different. Here we are not asked to visualize anything that is not there. You are not asked to visualize an imaginary body. You are asked to visualize yourself as the one who is endowed with the body. And as a result, what happens is that there is an inner space connected, forged between the I cognition as what? As the witness of this body. So the body becomes what now? Relegated to this cognition. And I is the subject of the I cognition, correct? So this is one hurdle. We are talking of the hurdle race, right? The race to oneself, the race to nowhere. The rush to get there without really getting anywhere. And what is the distance that is bridged between the seeker and the sought? The seeker happens to be the sought. So the hurdles are all because of thrown by ajnanam, non-understanding of the truth of myself. So the truth of myself, which I have heard so far in this very text right in the beginning, are reiterated in a more sophisticated way in the form of guided meditations. And meditations not like visualize a flower and all these things which are not there. Meditations designed to separate the I from all the non-I objects that it has gotten entangled with and mistaken itself for. Understood? So even in just saying, I am not this body, I am the indweller of this body, I have already used the word this twice. Yeah. And the more and more I use the word this as separated from I, then what happens? The space between the I and the this grows. And remember how we started, there are only two things in the universe. This is how the thing started. One is I, one is not I. And this is the declaration of Vedanta. And of course, this comes with this series of meditations, come with an important caveat, an important thing to consider. And what is that important thing to consider? That all this resolves into the I never is this. The I is I, this is I, and then what else is there? Only I. Yo. Yeah, So all there is I. And what I call this is also a projection, and as though projection of I, just like this dream. Like this dream experience, which doesn't have a standalone status without the dreamer. Similarly, this entire Jagat, this universe manifest with the myriad names and forms, is still what? Non-separate from this I. That comes later. But first, in order to unite, one has to separate. This is all Vedanta is about. Separate, unite, separate, unite, separate, unite, delineate, unite. That's all it is. So, I am not this body. Deha na aham. Na means what? Yes, correct? No. Deha na aham. And so what am I? Aham dehin. Dehin, declines as dehi. Aham dehi. I am what? Embodied one. I am the one that has a body, which I am taking care of. I keep it propped up with pills and potions and lotions. So, but this is not about potions and lotions. This is about how to get rid of notions connected to the body. It's not about lotion or potion, it is about notion. So, the notions connected to this body, that I am as good as this body, is removed by the recognition that this body is given to me. And it is not me. And then that is the first line. What is the second line? Of course, this is the person who wants a reward for the meditation when? Before the meditation. You have to have the cupcake ready. And then you have to sit and meditate. Yeah. Then only the meditation will come. The aroma of the cake or the coffee or something should be there. Because this is the person who wants treats all the time. Why? Because that the person was a dog in the last life. So that treat buddhi is still there. So sit down. Where is the treat? First the dog will look. You have a biscuit? Okay, I will sit down. The dog biscuit must be ready in hand. Only if it is there it will sit. Otherwise it's not, it's not dumb. Animals are smarter than you think. Yeah. And even if you hide it, it will smell it. It knows it is there. Then it will sit and it will bark. Why are you hiding it? Give. And it will sit as long as the treat is in the hand. As soon as the treat is consumed, it will start running around and eating your shoes and eating your brain and doing all kinds of things. This is what it is. So the dog buddhi, after many lifetimes as a dog, still persists in most humans. And so what happens? So we are all waiting for a treat. When? Before the act and after the action of meditation also there should be a treat. Something to motivate and then a little reward afterwards. Both should be there. So then the person who is listening to this verse is sitting, this is a closed position, Yeah. Don't think, this is Vivekananda position. Vivekananda also, Swami Vivekananda is known for this pose. But in his case it was different. This is usually seen as a closed position. A closed position in this interpersonal psychologists will tell you this, body psychologists will tell you this, that this is a closed position. So if somebody walks into a meeting like this, that means they've already made up their mind to what? Disagree with everything that you say, even before you say it. So this is a closed position, correct? This is an open position, this is a closed position. So the first line this person has heard. And what has this person heard? Deha na aham, aham dehi. Iti nishchayat. So this is how you have to do nishchaya. You have to visualize this and understand the truth of this until it is certain. And so this person is sitting in the room like this. And even if they have not actively assumed this position, the mind is interlocked like this. They may be sitting like that, but the mind is like this. And then what? The person is waiting. Okay, I am waiting. Where is the treat? What do I get out of this? That is why it is closed. Because I am not going to, engage in all this mental acrobatics till you assure me that there is something that I want that I am going to get. It should not be just some random treat. It should be a brand name moksha biscuit. It should be something that I want. Otherwise, why will I do this? I'm not an idiot. Why should I just spend time when I can be, going to places and doing, my habitual ways of falling into the pit of sorrow? Why should I try to extricate myself, and exercise, put so much effort in meditating? What am I going to get out of this? And Swami, Narasimha Bharati, the author of this, knows this human tendency very well, and gives the prasada of this exercise. Prasada means what? The gift, the reward of this exercise. The motivation was given earlier. What is the motivation? Just get rid of 6, take care of 5, overcome the 3, transcend the 2. That was the motivation. Now the reward. And the reward, patiently, the Swami, the Shankaracharya who wrote this, gives at the end of each verse, so that one can look forward to what one will get as a result of this. So here, what happens to the person who knows with certainty that I am the embodied one, I am not just the body. Janma mrityu prahinaha asau. Asau means this person. Janma means birth. Mrityu means what? Death. Prahinaha means overcome. Overcomes the death and birth, afflictions connected to birth and death. Don't think birth is happy occasion, no. Ask the baby. In India, the baby is massaged for 3 months in a row after the child is born. Because the birth itself gives the baby a lot of pain. Baby is massaged every day with oil and put in the sun. Yeah, they look so cute. Yeah. And it is put in the sun for 6 weeks, 3 months, something like that. And that is because the birth itself is the beginning of afflictions. Not for the mother, for the one who is being born also. Because there are so many birth defects. And even if there are no birth defects, the birth itself is coming with a karmic imprint. And so the genetic disorders inherited from a particular clan, a particular race, not race, but you know what I'm saying, a particular country, ethnicity, etc., is all just one's expression of one's karma. So even when you say something is genetic, we just say it is karmic. Because the genetics can also skip a generation. Why didn't they skip this person? Karma. So this is what it is. Because just because there is a genetic possibility, somebody got this particular disease. So many diseases are there. And let's say the genetic makeup says that this person, coming from the descendants of the people who have a propensity to get this disease, has a 60% chance of getting the disease. Doesn't mean they'll get it. Yeah. And what makes that 60% into 0, and what makes that same 60% levels it up to 100% is karma, is the individual's karma. So the birth is itself in suffering. Then life, that is also suffering. Yeah. Starting with the pain of losing the toy to the sibling, yeah. Or losing the mother and the father to the sibling. Yeah. Because till then I had all attention, and suddenly now this crying being has arrived and taking all my attention. So starting with that sadness, it just keeps on continuing. It becomes more polished. One gets better at hiding it, one gets better at projecting it, one gets better at transferring it, one gets better at distracting from it, but it never really goes away until one knows, I am not just the sum total of this body. Body I am, because everything is I. I am not this body. And I am the one who is the indweller of this body. So as a result, the difficulties connected to this body, and the two main difficulties connected to this body are what? Birth and death. And birth and death always come like bookends. And what is the bookshelf? Disease, affliction, decay, can't hear. What? Vedanta. Al dente? No. Vedanta. What? Can't hear. Can't even listen, can't do anything. This is all afflictions, not of the person. This has to do with the senses, the body. And so this, if you know, then you soar above the afflictions connected to the body. And that is a nice place to be. You have to hover above the body in a good way, okay? Yeah. And not just take into account that I am as good as this body. That is devastating. That is insanity to think I am this body. Everybody knows. Because see, supposing, people go to war and come back, and people have been going to war so many times, from so many centuries. And they come back minus one hand, minus one leg, some accident happens and they lose some, bomb goes off. The soldier has lost one leg or one arm in battle. So after coming home, what does he say? I am so and so and I am this man minus one leg? No. He says, I am so and so, the leg doesn't matter. The missing leg is not an issue at all. In fact, missing anything is not an issue, because what is there that shines is clearly not the body. The body just is a vehicle for it to shine. And sometimes the vehicle is an imperfect vehicle, and it's okay to have an imperfect vehicle. And this is something one has to just allow oneself to see that. And as soon as I know that I am not I am not this vehicle. The vehicle is just a car in which I am sitting. And the car has a few dings and dongs and dents and that's all. Some window doesn't work and then sometimes nothing works. One is just sitting there and it's called locked-in syndrome. And so many times, people say the person is in vegetative state. The person is not in vegetative state. Sometimes the person cannot even manage a blink, but the person is very much there inside. And now they found a way to map through this magnetic resonance, the same MRI technology, to go inside these so-called vegetative state people's heads, brains, and find out and actually communicate with them. There is one study going on. And this person has been in a vegetative state for like 14 years or 12 years or something. 14 years, I think. And they had a breakthrough because they were able to communicate, are you in pain? And the person immediately said no, through the same lighting up of different cortexes and various things. It's amazing. And so that means what? That cognition, that are you in pain? No, that itself shows I'm not this body. Even if one were to say yes, that shows I'm not this body. I'm the observer of the pain. And so all the afflictions, connected to this body, birth, age, disease, death, repeatedly, the person is free of. Embodied, I'm fine. Disembodied, I'm still I, Bhagavan, Ishvara. So this is the present of this meditation, And this is actually a mini way of what we studied in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Annamaya Kosha. And Annam, this body is seen as a product of food. This is a little more, you can take this a little more advanced way. And what is this? What is this body? 5 elements. The 5 elements buttressed with the daily intake of the food. So the food doesn't mean, the body is full of donuts, no. And even that were the case, jalebis and donuts, still the jalebis and the donuts get transformed in a certain way, correct? Into nutrition, Food groups. Sugar is an important food group. And it gets transformed into food groups and nutrition and nourishes this body. And so the food that is taken in becomes as good as this body. So the body is seen as a product of the food. The embodied one meditates upon the body as the product of food and then takes it a level further and says all this, idam sarvam annamayam jagat, this whole body of the jagat, this universe is also born of food, everything is born of food. And then one meditates upon food. And what is the food? Food is nothing but Ishvara, Brahman. You see, from the micro we have gone to the macro. So like that also we can do. But he chooses to separate that into 2 formats for the Vedantically challenged. And so he takes it baby step at a time. So we will go how he goes. So the basic thing is what? I am the embodied one. I am not as good as this body. And as a result, what happens? Yippee! I am free of being bogged down by the aches and pains and afflictions of the body. If the body is afflicted, I am not afflicted, and this is something you want, trust me. Yeah. So this is the reward. Moving on. Prano nahamaham devaha.
Prano nahamaham devaha.
Prana sakshiti nishchayat.
Prana sakshiti nishchayat.
Kshutpipasopashanti syat.
Shuddhipasopashantisya iti Vedanta Dindima.
Prano nahamaham devaha.
Prano nahamaham devaha.
Prana sakshiti nishchayat.
Prana sakshiti nishchayat.
Kshutpipasopashanti syat.
Shuddhipasopashantisya iti Vedanta Dindima.
Yeah. Now moving on. Very jolly way. So the first identification is what? Body. The second one is what? Prana. Prana means what? Where is the paper bag? That question. Hyperventilation. The respiration. The respiration is what makes this body come alive. Yes or no?
Yes.
This is not a trick question. This is a basic science. The respiration is what makes the body become alive, come alive. But the question to ask in this meditation, is the I dependent upon respiration? Question mark. Or part 1, part A, part B, or is the respiration dependent upon I? What is the answer? The latter one. Yeah. So if I think I am dependent upon the respiration, then I will be needing paper bag all the time. Yeah. Why? Because the anxiety expresses itself in certain intake, in the pattern of the intake of air. And if supposing the air is not, like there is feelings of what is that thing called when you are in a closed room and you feel claustrophobia. Yeah. So the claustrophobia is this is a very good meditation for people who suffer from claustrophobia. Because in the closed space, what happens? You feel you are running out of air. You're running out of space. You're running out of everything. There is this anxiety and panic come. And so you say what? Pranaha na aham. I am not this up and down disturbances connected with the breathing. I am not. Even though I say I am hyperventilating, I am hyperventilation itself, I am not. I am what? The observer of the act of hyperventilating that is happening. That is a little exchange between the body and the prana. It has nothing to do with me. So I am not the prana, part 1. So then the question of course comes, what am I? I am the observer of the prana. In fact, I am non-separate from the law that allows the prana to unfold, not just in me. He's going to explain this later. As I said, he's taking baby steps. First he talks just about the body and then he goes on to connect it to the macro level. So the prana, not just in me, but in all other things that breathe, is what? Is because of the law of prana. And what is that law of prana? That whatever needs to breathe will breathe. Breathing takes place. In fact, even though you say I breathe and it's seen as a correct grammatical sentence, do you really breathe? No. Breathing happens. Because if you say I breathe, then you also have to say I don't breathe. And how long can you say I don't breathe if you don't breathe? Yeah? So I breathe when you say. It's just a upachara. It is just for the sake of formality to construct a grammatical sentence, you can say that. But you really are not in charge of breathing, otherwise everybody would be afraid to go to sleep. Yeah, in fact, there are people who have some breathing disturbances, apnea it is called. And so therefore what? So in sleep also what happens? Breathing happens. And most of the time one is not mindful of the breathing, correct? Usually breathing just happens. So that itself shows I am not in charge of the breathing at all. The breathing is happening, it's a little pump to keep this body alive. The lungs are, doing their job. Expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. And the air that is outside is being sucked in and the cells are being oxygenated and the toxins are being ejected, thrown out. With every contraction, with every expansion, the cells are being oxygenated. With every contraction, they are being thrown out. How do I know this? Because I am observing this happen. So when I take a deep breath, I feel rejuvenated, energized. I means what? The body. I observe the body feeling rejuvenated, energized. And so this way, this is a harder thing to do, but I gain a little separation between the prana and myself. The prana also is not just respiration. The prana is fivefold, as we saw. Those were the 5 things. One of the 5 things were to overcome were the pancha prana. What are the fivefold pranas? Respiration, circulation, what else? Digestion, elimination, and then the ejection of the prana itself. 5th function. Yeah. So these are the 5 pranas, the functions, and you have nothing to do with, you are not in charge of any of these functions. Yeah. Otherwise what? You would make sure that everything that you like, from French fries to samosas, get digested properly all the time. You are not in charge of that. That is why it doesn't get digested. Yeah. And in circulation also, if you were in charge of that, you will never need a sweater. You will just boil up a little blood and then send it to certain places and keep the body ventilated. So ventilation, circulation, nothing, one is not in charge of all that. And so therefore, so the prana happens to what? To the body, to make it alive and to keep it in a workable condition. This is, so the body is seen as the sthula sharira. Sthula means objectifiable. Sthula means gross, not yikes, gross, not that kind of gross. Gross as in opposite of subtle. So it's easy to objectify the body. It is easy to say, this is not me, this is an arm. It belongs to me, it is not me. But prana is a little more difficult to objectify because you cannot objectify it with all the 5 senses. Can you see prana? No. You can hear prana. When you are hungry, gudu gudu gudu, some noises come, and then you know, okay, it must be time for the break. So, like this, these certain ways, but you can hear it, you cannot see it. And so already one sense or organ is cut out from objectifying the prana. And so therefore it is harder to delineate. And so therefore it is harder to separate. But still it's an important thing to do in the course of this meditation. So to negate the prana as the sum total of myself. To say I am not the prana. Then what am I? I am the law that allows the prana to do its function. And the law here is referred to by the word devaha, dyotanatmakatvat. Dyotanatmakatvat means it is referred to by the word devaha, coming from the root verb div, to shine. So that self-effulgent being, you can take it in 2 ways. The self-effulgent being who is the observer of the prana, who shines the light on the functioning or the non-functioning of the prana. That I am. You can take it in a straightforward way, or you can take it in a more complex and nuanced way, which I think is better for this particular section. I am that law that allows prana to happen. And what is that law? The law is the self-effulgent Bhagavan. That Bhagavan is this law. Ishvara is this law. I am that Ishvara that allows the prana to unfold variously in various parts of this body. you know. Yes? No?
Mhm.
Show some signs of prana. Yeah. So, then the question, very important question. What is the question now? What to, not what happens. You have to ask properly. What will I get? Yeah, this is so hard. The body one was okay, but this is very hard. Now even to understand this, I'm not sure whether I understand it or not. But what do I get if I practice this meditation and if I overcome the pranic identification and I see myself as separate from this prana, mujhe kya milega? That means in Hindi, what do I get out of this? I'm tempted to say we'll see after the break, but I think we have a few more minutes so we can look into this right now itself. So, Kshut, Kshuddha. Kshuddha means hunger. Because I told you digestion is part of the pranic process. Pipasa. Pipasa means patum ichha pipasa. There are certain words which are called the desiderative construction. And for this is an English grammar lesson. First, see, this is the Vedantic teacher's lot. First, you have to take the people to 4th grade English grammar lesson, and then after that has been revised, then you have to go to the corresponding Sanskrit grammar lesson. So, what is desiderative verbs? Desiderative verbs are those verbs which have a certain sense of desiring to. There is a certain desire. Desire to eat. Desire to drink, desire for moksha, desire for knowledge. What is desire for knowledge? What's the word?
Moksha.
That is desire for moksha.
That's knowledge. Yeah.
Jignasa. Jignasa. Jnatum ichha, jignasa. Moktum ichha, mumuksha. Desired for moksha, mumuksha. You know? And then desire to drink, pipasa. See, all these desiderative verbs end in sa. Desiderative nouns end in sa. Mumuksha, that is because the ka came in and there is a different rule for that. But sha or sa, they will end. Pipasa. Chikitsa, that's a different thing, but similarly. Chikitsa. From kith, to examine. So the desiderative verb here means the nouns here express a certain desire. So kshut pipasa means desire to drink and eat. You know? What is this desire to drink and eat? It's not the desire to drink and eat. The feeling that if I am not fed every hour, I am on the deathbed. I am on the bed of death if I am not fed every hour. That feeling, I have to have something now. And here, when I first came to this country, I saw one, I went to some Albertson. You know Albertson? The grocery shop I went. And everything was new, I was looking around and and there was one young man skateboarded inside the shop and then went straight to some, what are those, chips, literally grabbed one big packet of chips and tore it open in the shop itself. And I was shocked because in India they would have, there are people standing there just for such things. Yeah. This would have been an offense to eat without paying. And not that he was not paying. And he went like that, chips or popcorn, I forgot, something. He was just inhaling the stuff. Yeah, through the pranic channels rather than eating it. And then he went skateboard in one hand and the chip bag in other. And by that time it was almost over. There was just a few little, powder, chip powder was there at the end of the bag, and then the man, the check stand person just he had crumpled it and he had put it in his pocket and he took it out and that person smoothed it out and got it scanned. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he paid for it, but after the fact. You know, in India this is not allowed at all because as a culture we don't operate like this. Yeah. There is, you know, there is this whole, there is something, we think that there is something suspicious and terribly wrong about this, this principle of instant gratification. Yeah. Before I am hungry, I have got to plan all the meals, and as I get hungry, I have to grab whatever is at hand and tear it into pieces and eat it immediately and then think of paying for it. You know, this is something which is so Western in a certain way. The philosophy of it. Nothing wrong. I mean, he paid for it. He didn't break any laws. But I'm telling you, it was a culture shock for me. It was part of the whole thing of culture shock. And the reason being, that from childhood in the Hindu culture, we encourage delayed gratification. Especially on the level of one's own bodily wants, not needs. It's not that the child is left to cry. And the small baby is in the crib crying because it's hungry and the mother says, this is good for you, I'm preparing you for moksha, you don't know it yet. No mother will say that. That's not the point. But as soon as the child is able to wait and stop asking, it is encouraged to stop asking the question, are we there yet? When am I going to get it? You know, why not now? And the whole feeling that I am in charge and I am the one satisfying this hunger is a delusion. It seems like that in the beginning, but really one becomes the slave. The hunger starts to gnaw and make you do things that sometimes one is not proud of. The thirst makes us do things that one is not proud of. It becomes an addiction. So therefore, the delayed gratification, the way of bringing up the child in the culture, gives this separation, I am not just this body, that I am not just the prana, and you know, very important. So on that note, let us not delay the gratification of the break. And more about this there is to say, we'll see after we come back. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. We'll come back in about 20 minutes, whichever time zone you're on. And one more announcement, we are having a 1-month course. And as soon as Adele's computer comes back from the hospital, she will send out the various notices. And we are having a 1-month course that is scheduled to start at the end of July. No, June. And end at the end of July. And so I think it will start from the 22nd, even though I said 24th, because we can use the weekend. So all of you should enroll. There will be various tracks for... I think most of the classes I'll have in the evenings so that everybody can come, and the weekend we can have a similar module to Vedanta Dindima. So I think we can project it on both this portal and the other Adobe classroom we have, except for those who want to take it for, we are going to give a certificate at the end of the course. And so if you want to take it for the certificate, don't take it on live stream because we won't know if you're here. Yeah, so you have to come to the other class. So all that I will explain. So if you would like to enroll for this course, this 1-month course, you can do it completely online. You don't have to be in Eugene or right here. You can go to the website arshavm.org. It is right on top of your live stream screen. If you click on that ashram banner, Arsha Vijnana Gurukulam, it will take you to the website, and all the details for the 1-month course are there on the front page. How to enroll is also there. So I look forward to hearing from you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.